Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to some upgrades on the Huracan aircraft. Now we are doing some changes on this aircraft. Some of the things we've already done, but we'll talk about in this video. And we are doing some new things to this aircraft as well too. So stay tuned and we will discuss and get done our upgrades to the Huracan. All right guys, so first big change we're making is we got a new pipe from HEIP Custom Pipe. You can find them on Facebook, and really beautiful piece of work here. This is an awesome pipe. So really nice work. Now there's nothing wrong with the stock pipe unless you're putting a 300 or 300 Newton turbine in the aircraft, which we've already installed in this aircraft. So the 300 fits in there perfectly. The pipe though is too small. So the inner dimension on the stock pipe, I think, is 75 millimeters. This new pipe is 4 inches or 100 millimeters. The length of the pipe is exactly the same. The bell mouth on the front of the pipe is a little bit larger, I think a centimeter, 10 millimeters larger than the stock pipe. So it should be a pretty good, simple fit. Now, one of the huge changes here is the inner pipe is way stronger, way stiffer, way thicker material, but a beautiful quality pipe. This is my first pipe that I've ever ordered from HEIP Custom Pipe, and I gotta tell you, he did a great job putting this together. I believe he used to make the pipes for TAMs. The welds, there's just tons of little spot welds everywhere, so definitely a beautiful looking pipe. If you're needing a custom pipe, check them out. I'll put the name and email address down below in the comment section of this video. So that's one of the big things we're doing for this aircraft. I am excited to see how it changes, how this thing flies, how the power band is and stuff like that. So other big thing we're doing in this video is we're gonna be installing SKYCANDY lights, the new leg lights on the nose and the main. So we've got a set of 3 lights, 3, not 4, 3 lights that are going on the landing gear. So we're gonna be installing that in this video as well too. So those are basically the big changes we've made to this aircraft. So let's dive into making these changes. First thing we're gonna do is the pipe. Next thing we need to do is we need to pull out the 300 Swiwin engine. So we'll pull that thing out and then we'll undo the pipe and pull the pipe out. Now, one thing we're gonna have to keep track of here is our weight of the existing pipe compared to the weight of the new pipe. Obviously, if this pipe is heavier, we need to compensate. If it's lighter, we need to compensate. So just keep that in mind if you're making a pipe change. All right guys, so let's take a look at the pipe differences here. Now this is the stock pipe. What I'm trying to show you here is the rainbowing on the inside. Maybe if I get some light in there, that would be helpful. Anyways, I hope the camera picks it up, but there's quite a bit of rainbowing right on the inside of the pipe, and it goes down about 1/3 or a quarter of the way down the pipe. So that's the first issue and kind of telltale sign that there was a problem. And then let's just take a look overall at the general size difference. So not a huge night and day difference, and actually from this angle you can kind of see the bluing inside the pipe, but the bell mouth is significantly different in the size. And then our outside diameter of the stock pipe is 96 millimeters. Here, the new pipe, the diameter is 100 millimeters. So really not that different right here, but the end tapers down on the stock pipe. So you can see the difference there, substantially different. So it doesn't keep that same measurement all the way down the pipe. So down here, we're 86 millimeters, and on this one, we're 100 millimeters. So this pipe is basically straight 4 inches all the way through. This one tapers down slightly, and overall significantly different in the size end of things. So we're gonna have to do a fair bit of grinding on the back side of the aircraft, and also where the bell mouth goes in to be able to fit this new pipe, but no problem. Okay, step number 1, I wanna get the back opened up to make sure we can get the back end installed. So the stock pipe outside diameter is 100 millimeters. The new pipe diameter is 110. So what that means is we need to take 5 millimeters or half a centimeter. So if we're looking at the 9, that much off of each side or each direction of the back portion of the aircraft. I'm going to take my paint marker now and just mark out where I need to get rid of. Just so we don't go too far. So this just gives me a sanding guide to be able to work with. Okay, so you can see all of our marks there on the back portion of the aircraft. So those are all the paint marks. And basically, if we get rid of that much material, we should be okay. And we'll see how it goes. We're basically going to sand those out. I'm going to make those marks disappear, and we'll see if we have to go any further or do any reinforcements or stuff like that. So now when I'm sanding this, I'm going to have a vacuum right beside my cutting nozzle or my Dremel, just to make sure that the vacuum is sucking up all the carbon dust. All right, guys, well, it's a little bit ugly in there, but I put a 1/8" ply reinforcing ring on the inside and the outside. Essentially, the reason for that is we had to get rid of so much material that I didn't really feel confident that we were gonna be supporting this area properly. And also this area is the support for the rudder and elevator and all that kind of stuff. So it's important that this stays structurally sound, which all of my HEISOL and glue and everything will ensure that this does. Now, once we get this all sanded, we'll paint it black and essentially it's going to disappear. But I put a 3/4 ring on this side because we've got this top section kind of built out a little bit. And then on the inside, the back side, which we can't see, there's a full ring that goes all the way around, and that's all HEISOL'd in place. So anyways, we're gonna let that cure, and then we have a bit of Dremel work to do on the areas that are on the inside of the ring. So we'll do that tomorrow. All right, guys, and sometimes you need to upsize your tools a little bit, so we went with the super heavy duty Dremel, which is air powered, and this made short work of all of the grinding we had to do. So pipe is now installed in this side here. I'll show you the woodwork once I pull the pipe back out. Okay, and here's a trace of the 2 bell mouths put together. So old bell mouth is the inner circle, new bell mouth is the outer circle. So if you look at that dimension right there, and you look at how much is left around the opening, that's basically what we need to get rid of. So we need to get rid of that little bit that's on the inside to allow the new bell mouth to fit. Now I'll pull this pipe out and I'll show you guys without the pipe in there what it looks like. All right, so you can see there, basically we need to just sand all that wood structure down to the same dimension as that former right there. So that's going to be pretty easy to do. And then there's a shot there of our woodwork all sanded down. So the structure is also, because we added the wood in there, is also a lot thicker now, and it's going to support the pipe well. We've got multiple layers going on there, so, but it's a nice perfect fit, and we'll paint that black, this outer ring, just so it disappears. All right, guys, so we got the bell mouth tracing of the new bell mouth, and I put it in the hole there, and it fits perfectly into the existing opening, like I was talking about in the previous clip. So we've got our vacuum holder. She's officially the vacuum holder. We've got Nez, the supervisor. We've got the super Dremel. And now we need to get rid of about 1/2 inch of wood all the way around. All right, so we've got the pipe in place now. The engine's just sitting there, the pipe's just sitting there, but I tell you, position-wise and size of this pipe, I can already tell that it's way more appropriate compared to the old pipe. So it looks a lot better in the airframe. Really, really nice fit, and really impressed with this so far. All right, in the back end here, or the bell mouth end, you can see there, really nice fit once we got that wood sanded out. It's actually like it was designed for it. So we need to pull the pipe back out, drill a couple holes in there, well, 3 holes in there, so we can run screws into the wood structure, which is gonna hold that bell mouth in place. And then we'll be able to get this all set back up. Okay, so we got 2 options here for where we're putting our screws in. So we can either go into the front structure here, or the front part of the fuselage, or the rear structure. We're going to go into the rear structure just because it's a thicker material. So I'm just going to take a measurement here because our bell mouth comes flush with the face here. So I'm going to take that measurement to put me kind of in the middle, and that's where we'll drill our holes into the bell mouth. Okay guys, so the biggest challenge with the lighting system here is basically the nose. So we're still, even though those lights are small, we can't mount it to the leg really well, then this door doesn't close. So anyways, I found a great solution, and that is to put the light inside the nose door. So I've already drilled this out, obviously, and we don't need to run it all the way out like that. But we're gonna have the light in the front nose door. So when the gear comes down, that pops open like that, and we're all good. So I think that's a really slick solution. So that's the front. We will have to check and see what we're gonna do for the main landing gears next. But I'm gonna get this one probably glued in place, or curing, and then we will probably do an engine test run. All right guys, so used some CA to mount the front light into place, and then put some spiral wrap on the line coming up through the gear opening right at the front there. So spiral wrap is going to protect that wire, and just use some thick CA to hold the light in place. So, and then you can see there, we kind of have it split. So it's about 1/4 in the back, 3/4 in the front. We could have pushed it forward a bit more, but what I did was I closed the door, pushed the light against the gear, and sprayed some kicker on the CA, and then touched up the CA. So worked out good. Okay, so it's time to test run this this engine with the pipe combination. So nothing really overly exciting, other than I'm excited to see how much more this thing breathes, or how much better it breathes. I really won't know that till we have an actual flight. But anyways, let's fire this thing up and see what happens. right, guys, really hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure that that new pipe is going to add a fair bit more thrust. Definitely breathes a lot better than the old smaller pipe. So it's going to be real interesting to see how different this thing is when we fly it. So the jet is still not going to be fast because of the size of the thing, but I think it will be, the engine should run better because of it. So, all right, so we got the new lighting harness all wired in here. So we've got a splitter added to the main battery, and that was covered in the original build. But anyways, we come to a Castle Creations BEC. So this is a, drops the voltage from the LiPo down to 5 volts. And then we come to our split here from SKYCANDY. So this one goes to the RX. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plug this into one of the spare ports on the Electron sequencer unit. So basically this is going to be switched on when the gear is down. And then we've got all of our other leads. So we've got our nose and then right and left. So here's a shot of the tri-gear setup that this was included with our SKYCANDY Landing Light setup here. So we've already looked at all this stuff. So we've got our digital switch, we've got all of our harnesses. Because these are reduced in size, we need the circuit boards. Those have to be installed here. And the only thing that's missing on this is our regulator, which I've added right in this section right there. So this gives you an idea of what, how we set these guys up. Okay, so front nose light has been wired into the system, and I've actually turned it on just to double check, and everything works perfect with the nose light. So as I talked about here, I just installed the plug for the lighting system into the gear controller into door number 4. There's no reason for door number 4, and basically set it up so it is on when the gear is down, it's off when the gear is up. So we know that that works good. So next thing to do is get the wiring set up for the wings, and fortunately I used a 6-pin connector on the gear and brake line here. So I actually have 2 open ports, which works out just perfect. So now what I can do is I can take my 2 lines for my lights and set them up on those connectors right there. So I'm going to get those, the fuselage side run, and then we'll start to get the install done on the wings after that. All right, so all of our wiring is done inside the fuselage portion. The cover or the plate there has been put back. We are now wired into our connector. So nothing's been done on the wing side yet, but we have the wing laid up beside the fuselage. Now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how we're going to install these lights. Okay guys, so typically you would install the lights on the front of the leg, something like this. Problem is that if we do it this way, what happens is we've got some structure right here. We'd have to cut an outlet and stuff like that because this is a pretty tight opening. So what I'm thinking about doing is putting it on the inside of the leg like that. Now the reason for that, give you a bit of a different perspective here. So something like this, and reason for that is we've got a ton of depth here in the fuselage or the wing. So when this wing closes, you've got a massive amount of space on the top side of the gear facing the top side of the wing. So you can see there that the light doesn't even come out past the tire. So I think that's going to be just a great setup. And all we're going to do is we're going to high-sol this into place, and then we can just run our wire with the brake wire there. So I think that's a great solution. What I've done here is with the gear retracted, the motor for the gear sits right here. I've actually marked the furthest out point here. just so I would have it. So essentially I need to mount my light above that location or further. So that's kind of my, my limiting factor here. So I'll just play with that and see what's going to work best. But I think that is how we're going to mount these lights. And I don't even think, we'll have to see, I don't even think we'll need to do any grinding here on the fuselage. If we do, not a big deal at all. But I think that is a good solution. All right, so now that we've got the position decided upon, basically I'm running the lights flush with the trailing link leg is my my thinking. So now that we've got that sorted, what we need to do is we need to rough up the leg a little bit. So we'll just take a file or my Dremel, just add a bit of texture there, and we'll do the same thing on the top of the light. And then what we'll do is we'll get some HEISOL on there, clamp her down, and let her cure. All right guys, so we've got our HEISOL mixed up here, and what I've done is I cleaned the leg off with rubbing alcohol, sanded it a little bit with my Dremel, and did the same thing on the actual light itself. So we've got two clean surfaces now, and we're ready to get those stuck together. I just want to make sure that my clamp system is going to work here. Okay, so we're using HEISOL 9462. This is anytime I have something important, structural that I want glued, this is the stuff that I will use. So we'll put a decent glob on there. Now I will generally always heat this stuff up, and part of the reason for that is I find it usually always has a little bit of the kind of waxy bits inside there, and when you heat it up, that gets rid of it melts the white side, not the clear side, but the white side pretty much right away. So, oh, look at that F-14 in the background. We're finishing that up soon. We're just waiting on some additional parts. So there's a shot of the front. So that's going to be a pretty slick setup. Almost invisible, tiny little lights installed on there. Well done, SKYCANDY, for making those things up. Very cool setups. All right guys, it's the next day. Our HEISOL is all cured and looking amazing. We got the light wire covered in snakeskin and ran it down beside the brake line. And then it comes out where the brake line all comes out, and those wires come over to the output of the wing. So I think what I'm gonna do here is, because we've got to put the circuit board on for the lights, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bundle this all up together, and then I'm going to have my lead coming off, joining into the connector here, I think is what's going to happen. So we will have access to the circuit board right in this, this area right there. It's going to be hard to see because of the light, but it's going to be tucked away right there before it passes underneath the main spar in the hole underneath there for the wires. Okay guys, we've got both wings all wired up now, and we've got our leads coming to our ashlock connector, so that is all done. And like I talked about, I just kind of tucked everything right down in that area right there. So next step, what we need to do is we need to plug these wings into the aircraft, and we need to retract the gear and then put a little, probably a little cutout there for the light to pass by. So that's the next thing we need to do. So I'm going to get this organized and set up next to the Huracan. All right guys, so I figured I would video the first startup here. So the gear is in the down position. We should see the nose light and main light come on, hopefully, if I've done everything properly. Radio's on, and pulling the plug. Oh, we need light battery. So lights, batteries plugged in. There we go. Super cool. That's awesome. That is going to be a real nice addition to this Huracan. So when this thing's coming in for a landing, you're going to have two wing lights, forward-facing lights in the light housings, and 3 gear lights lit up. Unbelievable. All right guys, and this worked out just unbelievably perfect. So the light is right there. I'll extend these gear while you're watching. So go the other way. So we don't even have to put a cutout in the wing. It fits perfectly. That is super cool. Now if you watch this gear, right now the lights are off, and as soon as we flick the gear down switch, the lights are going to turn on. Awesome. All right guys, so light install is done, pipe install is done. The only thing left to do is check the center of gravity on the aircraft. So we have a 200-gram heavier pipe than the stock one. The stock one was like 450, so a poundish, or 420. The new one is 620 or something like that. So the new one is about 200 grams heavier. So based on the position of that pipe, relative to the CFG, we're probably gonna have to add maybe 100 grams to the nose to balance it out. Now, this aircraft, we have not been checking the center of gravity. So originally when I had all the nose weight in the nose, that was the front of the wing tube, but I have pulled out all of that weight, and there's nothing left in the nose, and the plane's flying beautifully. So what we can do is we can add some weights to the nose to see what it's going to end up as, but that forward center of gravity on the front of the wing tube is too nose heavy for the aircraft. So we're going to have to kind of go back to square one a little bit because we didn't check the center of gravity before we started this whole process. So if I was to do something over, I would have checked the center of gravity before we made any changes, but I'm not super concerned about it. So anyways, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this plane fully assembled. We will check and see where we're at for the CFG. All right guys, plane is all assembled and we are ready to do the center of gravity. I just want to give you a shot here of the lights. And there she is. Hot dang. Okay guys, we have the Huracan back on the CFG machine, and I added 4 strips of weight back into the nose. So we're not quite where the original CFG was, but we're a little bit tail heavy. It's probably still gonna be fairly nose heavy compared to where I was. Basically, this plane is ready to go. All right, guys, well, the Huracan is now officially upgraded with some really cool but really important upgrades. So that pipe obviously was a necessary thing because we went to the Swiwin 300 engine versus a 210 to a 250 series engine. Of course, nothing wrong with the stock pipe, but you definitely, if you're going to a bigger engine, you should probably get a bigger size pipe. So again, HEIP Custom Pipe. I'll throw his email address down below in the video description. And of course, the SKYCANDY Landing Lights, which are absolutely necessary, but not necessary, but they're absolutely bonkers on this aircraft. It's gonna be kind of the next level. And unfortunately, we lost the Diamond last weekend, but hopefully the Huracan can be a valuable, somewhat comparable replacement to the Diamond. Still a little bit sad, but it happens. So if you guys have any questions about the changes we did on this aircraft or anything regarding the channel, feel free to post them in the comments below. I do try and read all the comments. You can also reach me by email, thelightersideofrc@gmail.com. Guys, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, please. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.